I am Nitin Verma from Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences. It is a department where we learn to cure, where we learn to heal, and we learn to fight against diseases. And let me tell you one of the most interesting things about this department, that we have learned how to cure the bodies, but we hadn't learned how to cure our minds. We hadn't learned how to heal our minds. There is so many things that are happening in brain that actually causing a great illness to us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not the illness that hurts us the most. It is our own brain. It is our own thoughts. It is our own fear of failure that hurts us the most. And I remember one such day when I was coming back from college, I was really tired. I was not just tired, but completely drained. Sometimes you feel like life is moving way too fast, and no matter how hard you try, you couldn't keep up. And my mind, it was running insane with thoughts about my future, about my life, and it was running wild. And out of that, with middle of storm, in the storm of questions, I enter my home. I saw Mama and Papa were there on table. They were talking, they were laughing, like if there is no tension, they were living the moment. And in the moment I walked in, my mother looked at me and she asked, "How was your day, son?" A very simple question in the world. How was your day? But if I'm being honest, I was not able to answer that question. I'm the one who is good at academics. I'm the one who is good at giving the answers, but I could not answer that question that very day. There was lots of things that were happening. So I just simply smiled and answered, "It was all good, Mama." And then I went back to my room. Like most of us do, in order to escape situation, we started scrolling phone. I did the same. This Instagram, a modern form of therapist. I did the same. But there was still a lot of question. And I remember I couldn't sleep at that night. So next day what I did, I walked out of my home. There were no plans, no destination. I'm not understanding where I'm going to be, but I've walked out. And I was all alone on that empty road. And on the edge of the road, there was a little boy who caught my attention. He was in his torn clothes with dirty hands, and he was trying to focus on something. And I noticed in his tiny hands, he was having a torn, imperfect, crumpled sheet of paper. And what that makes me fascinating is he was carefully folding that paper, and then he unfolds it, and he was again folding that paper, like if he was trying to make something out of that. And I was curious. I walked closer to him. I asked his name. He said, "Darshan." And I said, "Darshan, are you trying to make paper airplane?" He said, "Yes." And abruptly I asked him, "Are you silly, Darshan? You are trying to make paper airplane out of that imperfect, torn, crumpled sheet of paper. It is not going to fly. Why you are creating any kind of things that are not going to fly?" He got disappointed. And then he looked down at his paper disappointingly. He looked at me, and this time with quite confidence in his eyes. And he said, "Bhaiya, it will fly." I was really impressed by the confidence he holds. But deep down, I was scared. What if it not? That one question that hold each one of us back. Later, after some time, he threw that paper airplane into the air, and to my surprise, ladies and gentlemen, that imperfect, crumpled paper plane was flying in the sky. It was dancing in the wind. Darshan started jumping. I started dancing. We were celebrating that moment like it is a great victory. And somewhere in that middle of the moment, Darshan looked at me, and he said me something that really hit me. He said, "Sometimes you need to have that trust within you. And when you have that trust, things really fly." Ladies and gentlemen, life is filled with irony. Sometimes the simplest souls can teach you something extraordinary in your life. And weeks later, I was at my home, and I was scrolling through my phone. And when I came across something that's very interesting, it is a very interesting story from the southern part of India. It is a story of a man who was trying to make eco-friendly, biodegradable sanitary napkins from banana fibers. You heard it right, from banana fibers, he was trying to make sanitary napkin. But what that really caught my attention was he was pointing out something serious. In his video, he pointed out that most popular brands of sanitary napkins, they contain chemicals, they contain synthetic polymers that are actually harmful to women's health. I got curious. I started my research. I went deep down to the rabbit hole to find out what exactly the truth is. And to my surprise, it was true. Most popular sanitary napkins brands, they are using chemicals, they're using synthetic polymers that are harmful to human health, and especially to the women's health. And when we talk about, the women are facing rashes, vaginal issues, and to the most, they are also suffering from cancer after using that. And above that, these sanitary napkins, they are non-biodegradable. You know what, ladies? The first sanitary napkin that you all people had used, it is still lying in this nature. These haunts me. You know why? Because something that was created to support women's health is actually turned out to be harmful for women's, and not only to women's, but also to this environment. And that's kind of disappointing. And then the next day I went for my usual morning walk, and I was surprised to look at the air. It was filled with smoke. The farmers were burning their rice straw, and I was unable to breathe in that moment. I was coughing, I was gasping for my breath. But in that chaos, in that middle of that chaos, I just struck. The curiosity, the research that once started, it turned into an idea, and an idea was to make eco-friendly, affordable sanitary napkins, guess what? From rice straw. I think that sounds ridiculous. You know, from something like agriculture waste, you are converting something into the medical thing. You know, people laugh at me. My friends were like, dude, you know, the people are making apps and you're going to make sanitary pads? And I said, yes. And they were like, you are mad. And I was like, yes, I am mad. Because the very definition of mad for me is like to move, to act, and to deliver your dreams. That is what I understand from mad. And then it started working on that. And you need to imagine the situation, a boy, 21 years old, living in a society full of taboo, where even in this 21st century, we can't openly talk about women's health, we can't openly talk about menstruation periods, or we can't even openly talk about sanitary napkins. And he's that boy who started his journey of making sanitary napkins. And his journey was not easy, it was tedious, full of doubts, full of criticism. It was not easy. But he started one day. You know, honestly, if I will tell you, I started doubting myself in my journey. You know why? Because the only thing that grows in criticism is doubt. Because when you heard a lot of criticism near and dear you, they are educated fools. They're trying to make something stupid. You started doubting yourself. And I did the same. But deep down, that message, when you have trust within you, things really fly. It keeps on lingering within me. And then at that very moment, I started. I have, just like Darshan, I was having enough trust within myself that no matter the people are going to believe in my idea or not, I will start. And for months, my journey was on trial and error. We learned, we experiment, we failed, we tried again, and we did the same. If I tell you, we made our first prototype, and it was complete disastrous. I made this thick sanitary pad, first this thick sanitary pad. And then we made a second prototype. It leaked. We were experimenting and it leaked. And that time I understand that science is really messy. It never goes with the way you think. It is always messy. And then eventually, by the God's grace, we managed to make our third prototype. That was not perfect, but it was sustainable. It was sustainable. And then I realized something, that when we start, we may have a lot of questions, but we need to start. We need to begin. Because if you understand that in that chaos where I was gasping for my breath, idea struck that, why not to make a sanitary pact? And that is how beginning. They are very uncertain, they are very messy. They will not wait for the perfect conditions to come. And that is what I learned in my journey. And out of nowhere, someone came. He was yelling at us, and he was, saying that you people are stupid, you people are mad because you are trying to make something that already exists. And that very question froze me. And I was not knowing what to answer to that person. I literally burst into tears because it was not alone my hard work, it was the hard work of my team, and it was not a 1 day, 2 day, it was the hard work of more than 6 months. And I was crying, and seeing my hesitation, my teacher called me, and I explained everything to him, and he started laughing. I got shocked, like what the hell the teacher is doing? He's laughing. And then he told me something. He said, Nitin, sometimes the world doesn't need answer. We expect we will give something new to this world, but this world doesn't need answer. Sometimes he needs people like you who could revamp the already existing answer. And it hit me, it sparked me. It ignited that spark within me. And we again started. And in that journey, I realized something, that beginnings do not happen at once. Beginnings happens all day. When you wake up in the morning, every day, beginnings happen. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe my journey would not be big enough to inspire you all there, but for me, it was a sacred transformation. I met myself. I found myself. I was able to understand my weaknesses. I was able to understand my courage. And maybe that's what the beginnings are. We do not start to find something new. We start to find who we are, who are lost in this world. And I just only want to say one thing, that we need to start. We need to have enough courage within us to throw that paper airplane out in the sky, no matter how imperfect it is, no matter how crumpled it is. If you have trust in it within you, it will fly. And at last, I just only want to say a few words, that do not wait, do not delay. Take the first step, find your way. Fear may whisper, you can't fly, but spread your wings and reach the sky. Clues are everywhere. The path is near. One brave step, the way is clear. Dreams aren't caught by those who stall. So what are you waiting for? Give it your all. Give it your all. Thank you, everyone.